Welcome back. We're gonna take Unit 6 now. Unit 6, fractions, decimals, ratio, and proportion. You're allowed to use calculator, so it's gonna be an easy unit for you guys. Let's talk about rounding decimals first, okay? First, in rounding, you have rounding to one decimal place, two decimal place, or second decimal place, and you have a whole number rounding. Okay, let's take one from each. I write down this one. Round to the nearest whole number. Nearest whole number, it means we need no decimal places. So first thing we do here, we look at the number after the decimal place. If it's less than 5, just remove it like this. So the answer will be 12 here. This is the whole number rounding. If it's less than 5, like this too, it's going to be just remove it. So the answer will be 11 here. Number 2.7. So if the number is 5 or more, so we look at this number. If it's 5 or more, it means we have to add 1 to the number. So this one will be a 3. So rounding to our number, you just look at the number after the decimal point. Rounding to one decimal place, it means you need one decimal place in the answer. It means you put a box like this. You have to count the decimal place inside the box, and then look at the one after the first decimal place. So you look at the second decimal place, which is this one. If it's five less than 5, you just remove it. If it's 5 or more like this, it means you have to add 1. So for example, this is more than 5. You add 1 here, and the answer here will be, for this one, is going to be 5.6. Just remove the 4. Here, the 9 is big, so it adds 1 here. So the answer will be 3.9. Okay. Focus on these, or this. Here, this is the 8. 8 is big. It will add 1 here. 1 plus 9 is going to be 10. So we'll have 0 and point here and 1 here. Because we added 1 to the 9, it made it a 10. The 10 will add 1 here. So the 9 plus 1 is going to be 10. So this one's going to be 10.0, like this. Okay. So focus when you round to one decimal place or to a whole number. Okay. So one decimal place, it means we need one number or one decimal number. Whole number, no decimal numbers. Okay. Now let's move on. That's rounding. Two decimal places, it means you need two decimal numbers. So basically, you need two decimal numbers. Two decimal numbers. So first, let's two decimal places, two decimal numbers. So it means the box should be on two decimal numbers, like this. And then you look at the number after the two decimal numbers. That's a 7. It's bigger than 5. It means it will add 1 here. So the answer will be 14.02 because we added 1 here. Okay. Same idea here. Two decimal numbers. It means the box should contain two decimal numbers like this. And then you look at the third decimal number. If it's less than 5, just remove it. And the answer will be 0.80. Here, two decimal numbers like this, same idea. And then you look at the third decimal number. That's a 6. It means you'll add 1 here because it's big. So when you add 1 here, it's going to be 10, 0. And we have a 1 here. And then 1 plus 9 is going to be 10. So 0 again and 1 here. And then 1 plus 2 is 3. So don't forget the decimal point. So this one will be 13 and a decimal point, like this. And that's how I answer a question like this. So focus on the steps of rounding and focus on the rounding question. Okay. Now let's move on. Next question. Here, use a calculator to write these fractions as decimals, correct two decimal places. So divide them with a calculator and then round them to two decimal places. Okay. These questions are easy. You don't have to do them. We don't have to do them here. Um, rounding, some idea. Which two of these could have been unround? Same idea. Same questions. 3 to the nearest whole number and 3.2 to the nearest 10. write down a number with three decimal places that would round to. This means you're going to work in the opposite way. So first, write down a number with three decimal places that round to this one. Round to 3 to the nearest whole number. Okay? And 3.2 to the nearest tenth, which is one decimal place. So it should round to 3. So it can be 3 point, it has to have three decimal places. So 2, um, 3.2. To the nearest whole number, it's a 3. And to the nearest tenth, it's 3.2. So 3.2, for example, 4, 2. When you round it to the nearest whole number, it's a 3. When you round it to the nearest tenth, it's 3.2. Same idea here, 3 to the nearest whole number, and 2.5 to the nearest tenth. So and it has to have three decimal places. So it can be 2.5, 2, 3. So a whole number, it's a 3. And then to the nearest tenth, it's going to be 2.5. And that's the idea of this question, okay? Now let's move on. This lesson is like that. Now multiplying and dividing decimals. Multiplying and dividing decimals. Now here, as we said, you can use calculators to answer these questions, so we don't have to talk about them. Here you can work it out with a calculator, okay? Here, same idea, estimating by rounding one or both numbers. You can estimating by rounding a question like this, you must use estimating or rounding. For example, here, they sometimes tell you to round to the nearest whole number or decimal place, or sometimes they don't, you just round to a whole number, okay? So for example, when you round this, it's going to be 1, and then 50 times 1 equals 50, like this. When you round 5.3 is going to be 5, so 5 times 7 is going to be 35. Because they told us to estimate, you have to round, okay? 19.9 will be a 20, and this one will be 1. So 20 times 1 is going to be 20. 134 times 11. So when we round these, we can round them like this. This can be 130, and this can be a 10, okay? You can round one or both. So this can be a 10, this can be 130. When you multiply them, it's going to be 1,300, like this, okay? So estimating means you have to round and then find the answer of estimating. But calculating is a different thing. Calculating, you have to be accurate. You have to write the accurate answer for each question. So you can do them with a calculator and then find it, okay? Same idea, calculate, calculator. Estimating means you have to round, okay? And calculate, you have to find the right answer. Okay, all of these you can use calculators and then you can round depending on the question they ask you. And that's it for this lesson. Now let's move on to this one. Converting fractions to decimals. As we said, we can use calculators here because we are year 8. It means we are allowed to use calculators. Let's take a look at some questions. You can calculate here, but some questions have algebra, so we have to focus on the steps of algebra, okay? Um, for example here, simplifying 10x minus x is going to be 9x. 100x minus x is going to be 99x. Solving. To solve this, it means we have to find the value of x. So here, 9x equals 15. This is multiplied. It means we have to take it to the other side by dividing. So 15 over 9. X equals 15 over 9. You can do it with a calculator and then find the value of x. Okay. So here, let's write it here. X will equal 15 divide 9. You can turn this into a mixed number because 15 times 9 equals 1. And then what's left of the 15 is going to be 6. So as a mixed number, first I'm going to use the same denominator. So 9 times 1 is 9. And then to get 15, I need a 6 here. So it's going to be 1 and 6 over 9. 1 and 6 over 9. Okay. Now you can simplify this by saying divide 3. And the answer will be 1 and 2 over 3. So 1 and 2 over 3. I just want you to understand how to simplify fractions to the simplest form, and always give your answer simplified to the simplest form. Okay. Now let's move on. Question 4. Convert each of these fractions to decimals. Now, using a calculator, you can do that. No problem here. You can divide 1 over 8 and divide 3 by 8, and you'll get the decimal that you need. Okay. Same idea here. Now, you'll notice that they are recurring decimals because they ask you what do you notice. You'll notice that these numbers will have recurring decimals like this. We will talk about the recurring decimals and the dot notation. It means what? It means you have to put a dot on the recurring number. For example, here we're repeating 6. It means the dot notation will be like this, 0 0.6, with a dot on top of it, like this. We call this dot notation of recurring decimals, like this. It means the 6 is being repeated here. Here we have 1, 7, 1, 7, 1, 7, so we are repeating 1 and 7, so we write it like this. 1 and 7 are repeated, so we put dots on top of them. Okay. Here we're repeating 5, 4, and 8. 5, 4, 8, 5, 4, 8. So when we write it, it's going to be like this. 0 0.548. And because we are repeating from 5 till 8, we can write it like this. 5 till 8. We don't have to put anything on top of the 4. Okay? So this dot here, or the dot notation of a repeating or a recurring decimal, we use it to show that we are repeating these numbers. Okay? Now let's move on to the next question. As we said, writing as a decimal, you can do it with a calculator, no problem. Now, we're going to find the recurring decimal. We're going to turn it into a fraction, okay? So focus on this. I'm going to explain this in a way I hope you understand it. So finding the fraction out of a recurring decimal. Focus with me on this. Let me, for example. So to find the fraction out of the recurring decimal, focus on these steps. First, let's cover this. Let's make it white. Give me a second, sorry. So first thing we do, we have to understand what's the meaning of this. This one is a 0 0.1 and the one is being repeated. So we write it like this, 0 0.111, okay? 1, 4 ones, okay? And the rest are repeating like this. So that's a recurring decimal, okay? So first thing we say that x will equal to this. Focus on the steps, okay? So x will equal to this. Now, how many numbers are we repeating? We are repeating one number. Because we're repeating now one number, we're going to multiply by 10. We're going to multiply by 10. And same here, we're going to multiply by 10. If we are repeating two numbers, we multiply by 100. If we are repeating three numbers, we multiply by 1,000. So focus on these steps, okay? So 10 times x is going to be 10x. And then this times 10 will be 1.1111 repeated. Okay? And there's an equal between them, of course. Now let's continue. Now I'm gonna subtract x. So minus x here and minus x here. Now I know that the x equals this one. So here I'm gonna write minus x, and here I'm gonna write minus this because they are the same, okay? So minus 0.1111 repeated. Because it's the same as x. Focus on these steps. Now 10x minus x will give me 9x. So 10x minus x will give me 9x. 1.1's repeated minus 0.1's repeated. It means it will remove this with it. So this will be removed with this one, and I will be left with 1. So equals 1. Focus on this, okay? Now I need to make x the subject, so I need the x alone. It means I'm going to take the 9 because it's multiplied. I'm going to take it to the other side by dividing. So I'll end up with what? I'll end up with x equals 1 over 9. 1 over 9. And this is the fraction that gives me the zero point 0.1 recurring decimal, like this. Now, if I want to check, I can put this in the calculator and it will give me this number, which is 0.1111 repeating. And that's how you answer a question like this. So focus on the steps of finding a recurring decimals fraction and how to find it, okay? Let's, so this one how is how to write fractions out of a recurring decimal. So if they are one number, it means we have to multiply by 10. If they are two numbers, we multiply by 100. Three numbers, we multiply by 1,000. Same steps, okay? Now, for 10 and 11, we understand them. Now, we will talk about 12 and 13. 12 and 13, they have the same ideas, but the answer will be as a fraction. Here, it's going to be a mixed number because we have a whole number, which is the 3. Now, 3, well, question 13 is the same as 10. You just remove the 3 on the side, ma'am, and then work out the rest of the question, okay? And that's the idea of mixed numbers and recurring decimals, okay? Now let's move on. Next lesson. The next lesson is 6.4. In 6.4, we're talking about multiplying fractions. First, let's talk about these. Okay. So 3 over 4 of 100 kilograms. The word of means what? It means multiplying. So this one means times, like this. And when we multiply, we can use the simplifying method. It means that we consider this as a denominator, which is 1. And then we can simplify. Divide this by 4 is going to be 1. Divide this by 4 is going to be 25. 25, like this. And then you multiply the numerators. 3 times 25 is going to be 75. And 1 times 1 is going to be 1. So we don't have to write it. So this idea, you can do it with a calculator. 3 over 4 times 100 is going to give you 75. Here, same idea, you just multiply. So the word of means multiply. So 2 times 50 is 100. Divide 5 is going to be 20. As we said, you can do it with a calculator and you'll find the answer, okay? Same idea here, simplify fractions. Even simplifying fractions can be done with a calculator. You just write them as a fraction, 4 over 12, or 4 divide 12, like this, 4 divide 12. The calculator will simplify it for you. It's going to give you 1 over 3, like this. So simplifying means write it as simple as possible. As we said, because calculators are allowed, you can use this. And by simplifying, what happens is that they divide by the common number, uh, common factor. So divide 4 is going to be 1. Divide 4 is going to be 3. So the answer will be 1 over 3. Same idea for these. You can use the calculator to simplify these fractions. Now, same idea, multiplying here, multiply, multiply, multiply. As we said, as long as you understand the idea and use calculators, it's okay to answer them with a calculator. This is multiplying fractions. Now let me give you an idea of multiplying fractions. As we said, you can use calculators, but you have to understand what's happening when you multiply fractions. When you multiply fractions, because multiplying fractions is so easy, 3 times 1, you multiply the numerators. So 3 times 1 is going to be 3. And then 4 times 2 is going to be 8. So the answer will be 3 over 8. So focus. You can do it with a calculator. It will give you the same answer. And it won't take a lot of your time and thinking. Just focus on using the signs, okay, the right signs. Here, same idea, multiplying fractions. This one, same idea, multiplying, multiplying. So we don't have to waste time on this. You understand the ideas. Multiplying fractions, same idea. Working out or multiplying fractions, same idea. You can put the whole thing in a calculator. It will give you the right or the right answer for the question. Now here, working out areas. Squares and rectangles, they have areas of width times length. So this times this times this, it will give you the answer. Now let's move on to 6.5. 6.5, we're going to divide fractions. We're going to divide fractions. Dividing fractions. Now, because multiplying fractions is so easy, dividing fractions is turned to multiplying fractions because it's easier than dividing. So let's take a look at the steps. Here, we understand this. As we said, we can do it with a calculator or use the steps that we understand. Multiply numerators. So 2 times 2 is going to be 4. And 5 times 3 is going to be 15. So 4 over 15. Same idea. Yes, let me listen to you. Yes. So, next question, same idea. Multiply numerators, multiply denominators. It will give you the answer. Now, write down the reciprocal of a number. Write down the reciprocal of a number. Now, let me ask you this. Raise your hand if you know the idea, okay? If you know the answer. Okay, so write down the reciprocal. The reciprocal means the upside down of a fraction. So if it's 2 over 3, we're going to make it 3 over 2. So the denominator will become the numerator, numerator will become the denominator. Same idea. 1 over 7 is going to be 7 over 1, which is 7. 4 over 1, I'm going to consider that it has a numerator of 1, the denominator of 1. When you make it upside down, it's going to be 1 over 4. 1 over 4. Same idea with 8 over 1 is going to be 1 over 8. And that's the meaning of reciprocal. So the reciprocal means the upside down of a fraction. This is very important because we're going to use it in dividing fractions. So don't forget the meaning of reciprocal, okay? So now let's move on. Write down the reciprocal of these. Now, to write down a reciprocal of a mixed number, you have to turn it into an improper fraction. You have to turn it into an improper fraction. To turn it into an improper fraction and then find the reciprocal, let's do this. First thing we do, as we said, we use the same denominator. So 5 will be the same, which is the same denominator. Okay, focus on the steps. Same denominator. And then here, I'm going to multiply and add. Multiply and add. So 5 times 5 is going to be 25. 25 plus 1 is going to be 26. So here we have 26. So this is the improper fraction of this mixed number. Now, to find the reciprocal, I just make it upside down. So I'm going to take the 5 up and the 26 down. And this is how you answer a question like this. So the idea of reciprocals, I just turn the mixed numbers into improper fractions and then turn them upside down. Here, we use the same denominator and then multiply and add. So 5 times 5, 25, plus 1 is 26. And then turn them upside down, okay? Now let's move on. That's the idea of finding the reciprocal of mixed numbers. Now, use the reciprocal to work out this. Why we're using reciprocals here? Reciprocals are very important in dividing fractions because we use a method called keep, change, flip. Let's take a look first. We're going to answer this, okay? This one covers the whole thing. So, first, if we have a mixed number, we must turn it into an improper fraction. So we write the 7 as it is, and then divide like this, divide. And then this fraction, we're going to turn it into improper fraction. We use the same denominator, and then we multiply and add. So multiply and add. Focus on the steps, okay? So 7 times 2 is 14. 14 plus 2 is 16. So this one is 16. Now, after turning this into an improper fraction, I can use the method of dividing fractions. If you divide fractions, you have to use a method called keep, change, flip. Keep, change, flip. Let's write it here. So keep, change, flip. How does that work? Oh, sorry, my bad. So keep, change, flip. Keep what? Keep the first one as it is. So we're going to keep the 7. Change what? Change the dividing into multiplying. So the division will be multiplied. Okay, let's remove this. So the division will be multiplied. And then flip what? Flip the last fraction. We always flip the last fraction. Focus on this. Flipping happens to the last fraction only. So it's going to be 7 over 16, like this. 7 over 16. So keep, change, flip. We use it when we divide fractions. Make sure that we have an improper fraction, not a mixed number. We use keep, change, flip. Keep the first one, change the dividing into multiplying, flip the last fraction. And then you use it to answer the question. So when we multiply fractions, we multiply the ones on top in the numerator. So 7 times 7 is 49. Okay, 49. And then over 16. So then a 16 times 1 is 16. So 49 over 16. Now you can use a calculator. 49 divide 16. It will give you a mixed number. So let's use it as a mixed number. First, 16, same denominator. And then 49 divide 16 will give you 3 point something. So this means that this one is 3. Okay. So 49 divide 16 is 3.062. So this means it's 3. Now when you multiply the 3 by 16, it will give you 48. Now you take the 48 from the 49. So minus 48. So equals what? Very good. Equals 1. Equals 1. So you write the 1 here. So the final answer will be 3 and 1 over 16. Like this. Let's put it here because it's, yes, 3 and 1 over 16. And this is how you answer a question like this. So we understand that when you divide fractions, first make sure that you have an improper fraction instead of mixed numbers. And then you use the keep, change, flip. Keep the first one, change this to multiplying, flip this, and then follow the steps of multiplying fractions. This is how you answer a question like this. Let's move on to the next one. By this, we covered the dividing, fractions, ideas, all the division, and all the dividing. Make sure that you turn a mixed number into an improper fraction and follow the steps of multiplying, follow the keep, change, flip, and use it, okay? That's it for this 6.5. Let's move on to the next one. This one, adding and subtracting, I'm going to make it in the other video. We're going to take a 10 minutes break and then we will come back, okay? Thank you very much for watching the video. See you next time.